Hi everyone, James here. This video will help us to create a test within Somatics. I'm assuming you've created a group, and if you haven't, find my other video that helps us to create a group. Once you've created a group, you come down and you click on tests. Now I created a group called class 1. You can see all my different groups here. Well, let's find class 1, and you can see that there's no test found for this group. Let's create a new test. And let's just call this test 2018. Now, your screen will only have default template. So we're going to go with that. You can actually save your tests as a template so you can come back later and add them. But for now, we're just going to create a test off the default template. So we'll click next. Let this load. This brings up the create a test page, and we can edit the title. We can select what target group we're choosing, and this does have subtle differences. Now we're going to be testing children in this situation, so we're going to leave it on children. In your inviting participants section, 1 by 1 means that you will probably take a computer to each person, sit down with them and ask them the questions. And this test is accessed through your login through here, and you would go to tests and you would navigate through that. By email is what I mentioned in a previous video around creating the group. If you have their email addresses in, then you can email them a group code and they're able to complete the survey from there. This is great for high school students, upper primary, 6, 7s, and of course adults. Okay, people who don't need any support, and they can simply navigate through from their email. A group code will create a 5-digit code, and you would navigate to a web address, and then you'd add the code in the web address. Now this is fantastic for middle to upper primary. You're able to write the web address on the board, and then you're able to write the code on the board, and they can navigate to the web address and click on the code. Copy the code in, and they're able to access the test from any computer, any web browser, and it's really universal and really quick that way. So let's actually do that today. We're going to create one from a group code. Now, by default, it comes up with these 4 questions. Who do you like to play with? Who would you like not to play with? This is a negative. Who would you like to work with? This is a positive. And who would you not like to work with? This is a negative. Today we're going to remove the negative domain questions. So let's click on that X and press OK. Again, it's the X, delete question, and press OK. Now we've got 2 questions here. Maybe you would like to move who do you like to play with down the list. So you can click on the button that says move down. If you'd like to move it back up, click on up. Okay, and this is the order in which the questions will be asked within the survey. So who would you like to play with, and who would you like to work with? This covers both of our domains, the social and the work domains. These are the only 2 domains within the system, and these are useful for understanding social groups, but also working groups, and who students like to work with and who students like to socialize with. Okay, the negative questions will give us further data. However, for the purposes of this video, we're just going to focus on the positive. If you'd like to add another question, you click on the green box, and I'm actually going to ask for a star rating in this. This might be helpful for your situation. Maybe you just want to find out how students are finding the class or the test. So let's just call this rating. And you can choose up to 4 different types of tests. Sociogram is obviously the main test that we're using in this platform, but you can ask an open question, which is any question you would like to put in and any response they would like to give. A question on feelings, or a statement. Let's do the question on feelings. Let's have a look at what this looks like. We'll click OK. And you can say, how, what is your mood? I don't know. What is your mood? And if you click on mandatory, this means they must give a response. If you leave it blank, it means that they don't have to give a response. We want them to give a response. All right, we're going to click save here. So now you know that's saved away. The other thing we can do is we can actually add an open question. And for the purposes of our data collection, this is helpful if we want to find out what feelings. Okay, again, we're in open question, what feelings. And that last box doesn't really matter. That's just for us to see within the system. And I can say what feelings. You can see it's already in there. And I also want to make this a mandatory. In fact, no, let's not make that a mandatory question so you can see what happens. Again, make sure you click on save and that box will go away and now it's all locked away. We've got 4 questions. We've got 2 sociometric type questions. We've got a question on feelings. We've got an open type question. Now, the question on feelings, you'll see what this looks like, and you'll also see what the open question looks like in a moment when we look at our results. The mandatory number of choices is quite an important question because this will determine how many people we're asking them to rank. If we select 1, then this is the minimum number that they must choose. So they must choose at least 1. If we choose 12, they must choose at least 12. And the maximum. So what is the maximum number that they are allowed to choose? If we want them to have the option of ranking all the way to 12 different people in the class, then we can do that. In all honesty, forcing the survey to collect 3 responses is actually really helpful. So 3 and 3. Everyone just gives 3, and that gives a really good consistency across the spectrum. You can do 2 as well if you're working with early years, but 3 is pretty helpful. And of course you'll see that if I have the minimum number is 4 and the maximum is 3, it's going to complain. Okay, so make sure you have a less number at the top or an equal number. Your ranking of choices, if you tick this box, it'll make the participant rank their choice from 1 in this instance to 3. So the person I most like to play with, the second person I most like to play with, and the third person I most like to play with. So it gives a ranking. This is particularly not helpful. It adds quite a bit of complexity to the survey, especially for children. This could be helpful for adults, but I tend to steer away from this with children. Have a play with it, but I think you'll find it adds a bit of complexity and a bit of stress. Participant view, this is simply what is displayed for people to select. So if you have photos, then you can ask the photos to be displayed. Obviously we don't have that in our system, we're just using the names and the text, so we'll keep it on there. And if you like, you can preview the test. Why don't we do that? Bring up a new tab, we can preview what our test looks like. So we can go back and make any changes if we don't particularly like what we see. We'll let that load. Alright, who would you like to play with? This is just going to give us all these random persons. And who would you like to work with? Sorry, that was who you like to play with. Let's go back. Yeah, who do you like to play with? And who do you like to work with? And click on the next button. Now, what is your mood? Remember, this is the question I entered. And they can add 5 stars or 1 star. So you might want to find out how they've actually, how they rated this survey or something like that. Or what is your mood at the moment? Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm making a video. It's fantastic. Give it 5. And then I can say what feelings do you know. So maybe I understand the words mad, sad, and happy. And we click next. Okay, preview's complete. So I'm happy with that test. Okay, looks pretty good. If we want to mark that as a template, that'll mean that when I create a new test for a new group, I can actually just select this and I don't have to go through the customization again. All right, saves a bit of time. So let's mark this as a template. All right, click save down the bottom. Test saved. Continue. Now for me to run this test, again, I'm in the tests on this side menu, and I've got all my classes in this group list. Here's class 1, which we were working with before. You can see that it hasn't been started yet. Obviously it hasn't been completed. We were going off a group code, and that group code has not been generated yet. The way to do that is to come across here. Make sure you don't click on the delete test. Make sure you click on start the test, the green button. If you think these settings might not be correct, you can click here to go and edit. If you're happy with that, then you can go ahead and start the test. What will happen when we click on that is that it will generate our group code. The web address is the same web address for any test that we might do. And it's this one here, www.somatics.com/en/start. You can actually get rid of the en and just have /start if you're writing it on the board, or you're printing this out for students to go ahead and enter in to go and complete the test. All right, so this web address is important, so you can copy that, and then you can say start the test. And it gives us this unique code. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new tab, and we're going to paste that in. Make sure you get rid of these little quotation marks. All right. What you can see is it says, welcome to Somatics. Fill in your group code. What's our group code? It's back here, UUIZKW. So if you can write this on the board or print it out and give it to students, email it out to them if you like, or put it in a text document on the shared server. Once they enter that in, it brings up our screen, and they can select who they are. Okay, Colin, I'm Colin. Who'd you like to play with? I like to play with Danielle, Claudia, and Nice. All right, and I'll click next. Who do I like to work with? Summer, Susan, and Reese. What's my mood? Oh, I hated that test. Terrible. And what feelings do I know? I know happy, mad, sad. Am I typing right? Okay, click on that. It'll ask a confirmation of my options. If I want to go and change anything, I can click on previous and it'll take me back. And click save. Kaboom, done, finished, close, and that student can close out and it will boot them back to this main screen. So that's how you run a test within Somatics. I hope that's been helpful. Any questions? Please feel free to ask.